Hey everyone, welcome along. So we're going to do just a kind of out of band video with this, because every time I've shot this so far it's ended up on the cutting room floor, and I thought we do need to talk about it. We've had a comment about it. I've looked at obviously the next schedule for the next 2 to 3 weeks of videos, and it's kind of, it keeps being, we'll do a little bit, but I don't think it's going to cover what the comment was kind of doing. So I thought, let's do a separate video just looking specifically at dump filters and how it works in terms of how you get it, how you can make changes to it, and then of course how you can use it, and really put it into the context of the Jesmond Dean parkrun report that I've got behind me. Excellent. So for those of you who don't know, dump filters is actually the mechanism that we've added in here, so that when you click on our little fly out panel, you can see here. So at the moment, it says no filters. But if I was to say, well, I actually want to look at the events that took place in 2024, you'll see it says there's an events year filter, equals 2024. If I was to then say, oh, I'm interested in like the senior participants only, you'll see it says the senior participants only. So you can start to build up a way that someone can look and see what filters are applied to this report. And you do it in a way that's really visible. So we've left quite a large space here. We've used quite a lot of screen real estate, as it were, to visualize where the filter measures are or where the filter summary is. This is how I've chosen to do it. You may choose to do something differently, but one of the things I want to do today is we're going to look at kind of the mechanism, how we set this up and what goes into it. And I think this panel probably makes sense as this is one of the things you can do. Okay, so again, you minimize it. And just for clarity, one of the other things you can do is, of course, on every visual, and of course we've got these kind of a bit hidden around with different things, you see you've got the funnel, or there's a little thing slightly different, like 3 lines in like kind of as a funnel shape that you get. That gives you the filter at any visual. Okay, and this is always useful to be able to see. But what you find in terms of, from a customer base perspective, who, well, you know, I use Power BI reports, I don't really care, but I want to configure them. Having dump filters is more intuitive to them than having to go here and check the actual filters that are applied to the visual. Checking the filters that are applied to the visual is really good in terms of, because it updates. So if there's cross filtering going on or cross highlighting, that comes through. Well, cross filtering, cross highlighting, yeah. Anyway, but you can see what other filters are coming into there. So if you look and you get that first, I'm having an issue with the report, it's not right, we would always start by saying to the client, okay, step 1, what filters have you applied? So what's the dump filters actually showing for you at any given time? That's a nice standardized place we can put in the help text. Go here, have a look at this. Does this tell you what you need? Okay, that's a vital thing. Okay, that's something, of course, that you can't do with the filter panel on the right. And you can see, obviously, these are slicers, but it's efficient because the slicers are then out of our way. We've given up some real estate in that we've got a bar there, and you know, you could turn around and say, well, does that make sense to do? Is that sensible? I think, am I right in thinking? No, I don't think I'm making stuff up. But we could have made that bar on this side, say, be an actual button in itself. So if you clicked anywhere on that bar, it would bring the fly out. There's all sorts of things you can do. Again, nothing in here. In this case, we've just got the button at the top. Okay, but this is the direction I've taken this report, because I think it's quite intuitive. People are used to, oh, there's a little fly out button there. I'll click that, it'll come out. Okay, we've got like the help icon there, which we're going to move. This week is being moved. All these things are kind of about trying to make it a really intuitive experience for your customer base. So, you know, for us, as I say, we're hiding. You can see we've got the little eye crossed out. So we hide the filter pane in this report pack, and it's just the fly out to the left, where then they have slicers. So it's a curated, managed experience, which is why I've taken the time to talk about it. It's important that you understand that. So let's go over, yeah, and open up DAX Studio, which is really what we need to do for this. Okay, so I'm opening up DAX Studio now, and I'll just drag it into this window. Okay, so we've got DAX Studio open. I'm going to pick to edit this file, which is there. We're not going to do anything online with it. We've opened up now our file. Okay, so we're connected to the schema of this model. So what we need to do is we need to just pick a folder, right, and it's the folder that you want your measures in. So in our case, we're using the DAX folder for our measures, and we've also got our secondary folder. If you remember, that's kind of what we say or recommend people use. So this will go into our primary folder, which would be our DAX folder. So I'm going to right click there, and I'm going to choose to define filter dump measure. Okay, I'm going to click that. It's going to go away and it's going to work out everything that I want to do. Right, and you can see we've actually got here, this is saying define measures, DAX filters, and I'm going to write this as 2. Okay, or new. Okay, and we can then run that. Oh, so we've got that. So what we do is we Control A, select everything, Control C to copy it. Let's go back to our main report here. Come through to here. Let's go to a new query. Let's paste that in. Okay, and what you can see, if we zoom right in with this, is every column is mentioned. Okay, and this is one of those things. Every column in your report or your model won't be used for this. Okay, so you could go through and do one per table and everything like that. What I would do, and what we've done with other clients just to make things easier, is we go through and we say, right, let's actually pick this up, make sure this makes sense for everything. So from the top, we've got these 2 areas. So we're going to define the variable, define the measures, which we've got then the folder and the name of it. Okay, so we can then choose to, we could update that, we could put that somewhere else if we wanted to and give it a different name. We've got the number of filters to show. So this is because of the way it works, it does a concatenate X for each column that's filtered. So at the moment it's 3. You could choose to change that to 5, 7. Okay, be aware, it depends on where you're putting it, as to how big it is, what kind of fields you're using. There's lots of things like that, subtle nuances to be aware of. Okay. The next thing to be aware of is this kind of 7 or 8 line way that each column is defined. Okay, so you've got kind of an is filtered, so is it filtered by this column, is what we're saying. If it's true, do this. And then it goes on and then do the next, right? And what we've got here, what we can see is we've got this clear idea here where we're doing a concatenate X, in this case, age group bands. And then we're putting in age group age band. Now, this is one of those things where what you see in the way we've got the report written at the moment, if we bring this out, the way we're using it, is we've got age grouping age group. Now, if you think this is selected group, is what it's called. So we can change these to make them fit better. And that's one of the things to be aware of. So what I would suggest is if you think, well, we're going to have a fly out panel with 5 slicers on it. Now, given that slicers can now be multi-level, so we've got the slicers coming out, there's 2 levels to these. Potentially we've got what, 2, 3, 4. Okay, and potentially in the future we're going to bring in months as well. So we might have 5, maybe holidays, 6. Okay, so we kind of get to the point where we're saying, well, we have 6 columns potentially available for people to filter or to do stuff with in this panel. Okay, we might need to make the panel bigger, we might need to make the panel smaller, we can do things. But again, because it's a fly out panel, the options are there for you. You're not losing screen estate from the report pack. Okay. So if we come back to here, what you can see is we get to this point. So we know we're going to use age group, don't we? Okay. So this is where I would say, okay, group selected would be probably what we'd say. Okay, so at the moment it says age group. How about we change this, sorry, in the text here, to say selected groups. Okay, so that way, instead of it saying a, which is kind of table and column name, which potentially to the vast majority of our user base, I don't care. I just want to know how many seniors were there, how many veterans, how many juniors. You kind of get to that point where you're going, right, we can be clear with this really easily. So I'd say take the time, go through, do that. If you want to go through and massively cut down the number of columns in this, you can. As I say, all I would say is make sure that you go through and you kind of remove everything between like the ampersands. So you've got to remove that full clause, otherwise it'll fail. But now, let's say in this DAX view, if I do that, you see I'll get an error. Oh no, I won't, because that's an if. There we go. But it shows as an error. I'm not happy about it. So we know we need to kind of delete those two, okay, for it. But the structuring of it, the way it's all built, it makes it really easy to go through. So I would say, if you want to do this and put this into place for your main model, and again, this is where it gets challenging, because if you're doing this for your main model that you're then going to allow people to build things on, you don't want to do too much in terms of removing rows. Removing the content from it. Definitely remove the content that relates to your fact tables, because again, those are already the aggregators that you have. Presumably you want to hide that table anyway. But again, if it's hidden anyway, then potentially you're not going to see any impact because people can't pick those. There's a lot of nuance to this, but I would definitely say go through and update these areas that you need. So in this case, kind of min age, max age, I know we're not going to use because those are just used to help by the measures to define what's the correct category for this participant to be in, as opposed to being used for analysis in terms of I'm actually going to use it as a filter. We go through, we know DAX column 1, that's our hidden column that we have because it's a table and you need to have a column, and that's just the way it is when you do it within Power BI desktop. But we go through, we do all that, we've run that, so what I can do is just hit update model. Okay, so we update the model, let's now put that in, we've got DAX filters new, let's go here, let's pick this, it's all this panel, we're using filters, but if we hover over it, we see it says filters, which is a measure I've written, and it's just, in this case, as I say, if the filters, if is blank test, and if you look at test, you can see test, so test is the dump filters. So if dump filters is blank, just show dump filters. Okay, so we'll go dump filters space, new, IntelliSense comes through. Okay, so we've now updated it to use this one. In theory, you could put that whole is blank piece in the dump filters, and you can see it now says selected groups. Okay, senior, and we could also choose to pick veterans or veterans and that. Okay, so you can kind of see it works doing it that way, right? And that allows you to then make it more intuitive for your user base to actually access the content. These panels, as I say, now we've got the ability to group everything together and group things in pages. Makes life so much easier in terms of building them. So I would definitely recommend exploring panels in the future for you in your development. Hope that helps. Stay safe. Take care. Ta-da.